This is the trip me and Cam made to Vietnam in 1999. After 26 years, this is her first time back to see her family. Here's Cam in the airport at Anchorage after we flew down there to catch the China Airlines flight at 2:30 in the morning. This flight originates in New York City and stops in Anchorage for fuel. Here we are on the streets of Saigon. After arriving and we're staying at the hotel, at the Majestic Hotel, downtown Saigon. This is her trying to cross the street. She's not good at crossing streets, and they don't have signals, so you just gotta do it on your own. Her talking to the people at Majestic, the doorman, and me across the street taking movies. Majestic is a real nice hotel, expensive, about $100 a night in downtown Saigon in 1999. I'm sure it's more nowadays. This is Cam talking to the doorman, and this is some of the traffic along the main street in Saigon. A lot of bus traffic and many little motorcycles. That's the Majestic sign up above the street in Saigon. Here's one of the larger buildings in downtown Saigon. This is her in a room watching the TV and waiting for our flight to Hue on the next morning. We had to fly into Saigon and then make reservations for the flight. The hotel made reservations for us on the airport. It's at the airport in Saigon. This is up on the roof, taking pictures of the Saigon River, which flows right through downtown Saigon and handles up to big ships. A little foggy up there, kind of in the clouds on the early morning. This is just playing around on the roof up there in Saigon while we're killing time waiting for the next day's flight. Cam walking around on the roof. During the daytime they have a bar up there where you can go up there and sit and drink and have a good time. Again, looking down at the street in front of the hotel, a lot of bus traffic and motorcycle traffic. Vietnam is basically made on motorcycles. They carry everything from pigs to bananas on these motorcycles. Sometimes you see a whole family on the motorcycle. This is again a shot of the river. This is after it cleared up a little bit. Again, still fooling around on the roof. We had a lot of time to kill, so we did. We went in March because March is not so hot. It's only around 85 degrees in Saigon and Hue. Here's pictures. Cam taking some pictures of me up on the roof. I bought a new camera and we were taking a lot of movies over there. We took a whole movies of her flight and her trip over there, seeing all her family and relatives that we hadn't seen for the last 26 years. can hear all the traffic noise from down on the street. Here's more pictures. This is the ferry that goes across the river. Takes them from this side of the river over to the other side. Filled with people and motorcycles. And a few cars. We did take one picture of one 1958 Chevrolet that they were renting to people from America that come over there and wanted to rent vintage cars. Cam going up on the roof, the highest point on the hotel's roof. After a 13-hour flight, we got over there and we were staying at the Majestic Hotel for 24 hours so that we could, next morning we were going to catch a flight to Hue on Vietnam Airlines. Vietnam Airlines flies 737 jets, which were fairly good, but they were crowded and people had everything from chickens to a lot of little crying kids on the airplane. There's the highest point on the hotel, and Cam going up there to wave at me. And now this is the next morning, taking the taxi, going to the airport down through downtown Saigon, showing some of the traffic and the motorcycles stuff. These guys ride on these motorcycles weave in and out of traffic like they're crazy, and maybe some of them are. This is the park in downtown Saigon. That was pretty nice. Again, the traffic and the taxi driver telling us about what's going on. And then this is arriving in Hue with all her family and all her brothers, her 3 brothers and sister with their wives and kids. We hired a van for $35 a day that took us just about everywhere we wanted to go, and they had picked up family up every morning, and how many ever people wanted to go, and they would all cram into the van, and then they'd come pick me and Cam up at the hotel and take us to one of the tourist places in Hue. And her brother and her sister and her sister's husband, sister's daughter. That's her brother-in-law, married to her sister. And that's our driver for our van in the background there. This is at our sister's house. Cam holding one of her little nieces. She's walking around out to one of her brother's houses. The whole family with brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, little kids. This is the first time I'd seen some of those little kids. Like I say, we hadn't been over there in 26 years, so most of the kids weren't even born when I met Cam. This is their brother's house. The whole family standing out in front of her brother's house. Some of his plants, bananas. This is going into one of the tourist attractions there. Everybody getting their ticket and paying to come in to this tourist attraction. Joining up on the other side of the pay station. For most of them, this is the first time they had ever seen these places too, because they were never affluent enough to go to all these tourist places. But the driver had a different place for take us every day. He took us to a different old king's place, or a pagoda, or a Catholic shrine, or something in the city of Hue, or close to the city of Hue. And every day we go to a different place, and usually the whole family would go along. Some up to 19 people. This is one of her little nieces, and me and Cam. Family watching us, walking up to one of the buildings there, and one of the old king's palaces. It was warm there for us. It was 85 degrees. We had just come from Alaska where it was 20 below and still had snow on the ground. So this is kind of a vacation for us away from the snow. Sitting around and shooting the breeze and drinking a cold Heineken. Cam discussing with her sister. This is Cam's older sister. She doesn't look like it, but she's in her 70s. This is one of the old king's palaces there, and his throne. You could pay and they would dress you up like a king and set you in this throne chair, and you could get your picture taken up there. I didn't do that, but this is somebody else who did. Some of the tourists there, dressed up like a king, sitting on the throne there. Girl adjusting his crown so they can take his picture. Here we are walking around one of those tourist attractions there in Hue, and this is all the family members that we had in that 9-passenger van. Sometimes we had as many as 20 in that van, and fortunately all these Vietnamese people are fairly small, but how they can all get one of those vans is beyond me. And they always left the one seat empty for me and Cam, so they were in 10 people in one seat and only 2 people in our seat. Here we are just walking around there where the statues and things are in front of this tourist place. And all these people that you see there were in this 9-passenger van, so it was interesting. There's the red flag with the star that the communists have there over the, and this is the out in front of the restaurant where we had dinner. This is our 9-passenger van or 11-passenger van that we have here. That came with a driver for. Here we are sitting out in the back of the hotel in the courtyard, I guess you call those things, having a talk. There's her 3 brothers and her sister. This hotel had a complete square around it, and it had a courtyard in the center there. This is where they served breakfast every morning, the free breakfast. So we went down and ate. They had good food there at this hotel. It's the Saigon Marine Hotel in Hue. One of her little nieces. This is some of the traffic. See all that stuff they pile on a bicycle and pedal around town. And that's the small load. Sometimes they stack things so high you can't hardly see the bicycle. And of course there's lots of motorcycles. And they go about where they want to. They don't have stoplights, they don't have traffic controls at all, hardly. And the right-of-way system seems to be whatever's biggest gets to go first. So if you got a big truck and you honk your horn, everybody else gets out of your way that's smaller than you are. And if a bigger truck comes by, you get out of its way. Here's some of the rice paddies alongside the highway there, heading out towards Cam's sister's house. They live way out in the country, and the driver went out there every morning and picked all them up, and then he'd come into the hotel and pick us up. There's a school with a soccer game going on. And this is going along the country road out towards Cam's sister's house. There's a graveyard alongside the road. Rice paddies. This is April and the rice is up. You can see how tall the rice is. And they grow a lot of rice. This is one of the old tractors that they got from the Russians. Down across one of the bridges there, it's one of the rivers. Cam says before they built the road out there that they had to come down this river in a boat to go to ways. So, but nowadays they have roads out there. This is along the graveyard where Cam's family is buried, and here they are lighting their incense, and then they go put incense on each grave. They don't mark the graves too well over there, and you have to kind of remember where they're at. And fortunately, the family there knows where all these graves are. We've got all their incense lit now, so they can go put some burning incense on the different graves. And these little round things, those are the graves themselves. And like I say, there's no mark on there to tell who it is, so you have to remember which one is which. But this is one of her, I think, her mother's or her father's grave. Her father was killed in 1968 during the Tet Offensive, and her mother died after we came over here to the States. And this is the first time Cam's ever been to her mother's grave. And they're Catholics, and they say a little prayer at each one. And this is, I think, her mother's grave here. And it's good we come back after 26 years for her to see all those graves. Later they built a highway through here, and they moved all these graves, and the family built a mausoleum, and they put all of them over on their own property. I think this is one of her aunts or uncle's grave here. They have a person that maintains these circular piles of sand that on there. This is a real sandy area, and the sand blows away, so they have to rebuild them every now and then and shape them and keep them looking nice. A little windy out there, which makes a noise on the camera. And it's recently rained a little bit, so I got a little bit of rain on my lens on my camera too. This one has a grave marker on it. I can't read what it says, but the family there, they know who's buried in these places. Now she's been through all those graves. Now it's my turn to say a prayer over some of them. There's one of the older ladies that take care of the graves are in this graveyard. Here's the whole family standing there in front of the graves. And this is at Cam's brother's house, Cal.
Thấy nó tháng nè, cắt đi vòng nó tháng nè, vòng em của anh.
This is looking at the graveyard from Cal's house. He lives right close to the graveyard. This is coming into Cal's front yard there with his garden and no, I'm wrong. This is her sister's house. This is her Cam's sister's house which is down about a quarter of a mile from Cal's house. And when we went there was a whole lot of people came to see the Americans that came over to visit. Some that knew Cam when she was young and lived around there, and others that just were curious about some Americans coming to visit. This is one of their gardens there with their water buffalo that they used to plow with and do a lot of the work. This is the back of their house. Again, some of the kids that came to visit. This is inside the house. Us having a get together with some of their old neighbors that remember Cam. She's showing some Cam some of the prescription medicine that they give her, and Cam's looking at it trying to tell what it is.
Vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin 1-2 chị viên. Cặp bộ ấy. Cái này 1-2 chị một viên. Nhưng mà 1-2 chị một viên. Ngày nào chị uống được 1-2 một viên. Vitamin cặp bộ ấy.
Again, here's a bunch of all the kids that came from the village around there to see the Americans. There's our driver there. Some of these are Cam's nieces and nephews, but most of them are just from the village around there that came out of curiosity. They're having a good time climbing up for the camera. That's a sister and her sister's husband.
Chị của Cam, chị của Bưu, chị nhớ Bưu lắm và là cháu, rồi chung của em là chị nhiều lắm, rồi chị mong em được về thăm quê người giống như em Cam. Đó.
Rồi làm câu đây.
Mấy cháu gửi lời thăm cậu Bưu, con của chị cả là 8 đứa gửi lời thăm cậu Bưu.
Anh cái đó. Mày anh em rất vui đi là đi khám về. Mà hôm nay em cũng rất mong muốn anh sẽ trở về coi gia đình được nữa.
One of Cam's brothers.
Gia đình. Anh của được em không? Em ở đây rất nhớ. Mong nào đó sẽ hồi ngộ.
Cam's brother Cal and a little niece.
Những điều có gì cảm về anh gia đình thì em cũng xin trước hết là xin hỏi thăm sức khỏe anh, sau thì cũng chúc anh và mấy cháu anh chị luôn mạnh khỏe của mình này. Mong anh cố gắng một ngày nào đó để thăm, trước hết là phải thăm gia đình anh Vương Chị Quang và sau nữa là việc thăm của anh luôn. Bởi vì ở đây thì em cũng cứ tức là kê Vương Chị Quang, Chị Quang thì thực hiện anh là cũng Chị Quang, cho nên anh cũng thăm thằng này.
This is driving out one of the little roads that goes back into the village. There's a church that Cam used to go to. This is the road all out towards the main road. This is just a little dirt road that goes between the rice paddies. This is coming out to the main road, heading back towards Way. Some of the houses along here are not too bad. Most of them are just makeshift things that they put up. Some more rice paddies. This is a school. Going back across the bridge. They're back at the soccer game. They're still playing soccer. This is back on the paved road heading in towards Way. And the bigger trucks, we had to get out of their way. It's unbelievable that they drive in all this traffic without having very many accidents. Once in a while you'll see an accident, but we didn't see any serious accidents while we were there. This is down along one of the main streets in Way, showing all the businesses along the street. This is back in the courtyard in the hotel where we're staying, the Saigon Marin. There's the family, the three brothers, the sister, and the brother-in-law. Cam and her sister having a conversation.
Yeah, you can tell.
I talk.
Oh, okay.
All day, all night. Nó nói nói chuyện đi cả đêm cả ngày. Nói để cho nó giống tâm đó. Cũng được. Em chưa một người qua không cho em nói đâu em có gọi việc thôi không việc thôi nhưng mà có công tơ đó anh công tơ em có đi cái nào ấy có
trả lời cho em.
À.
Sau này gửi lời cho em. Sáng năm thì nó về. Chúc chị mạnh khỏe. Vì ở một năm em đánh nó rồi anh nói đi đó. Rồi đánh lại cho em rồi trong vụ 2 phút em định có cái động cơ rồi. Em biết là được. Rồi chúc chị mạnh khỏe. Sáng năm thì em về. Nói đây mà em không được không chắc chắn hay không.
Nói đi nhé tôi không chắc chắn không đi đâu.
Thì tôi nói gửi lời thăm mẹ em, thăm chị em.
Nói giỏi. Vâng ạ.
Khi chị về mà anh bụng thì chị về thời gian lâu mau không?
Có nói về ở đây
Thì lần đầu cũng không chị về
Đúng đó. Thế chứ trong mình một
Trong mình
nói chị về chị điện thoại cho em liền.
chị điện thoại rồi chưa? Chưa.
Về 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 về
về Mỹ về
Về sớm chưa về là điện
hướng
thoại.
dẫn về điện thoại cho nó hay là cũng tơi cho nó.
Phải được. Phải được.
Từ về hiện giờ nó đang làm rồi nó mất việc. Nó còn một số việc bỏ nó đi được đâu. Rồi công việc nó làm.
Chị chỉ làm cũng thử nghỉ để cho nó làm lại quanh năm tháng chứ phải vài nghỉ nghỉ 2 năm sau
Không được sáu nó cũng về. Được sáu nó cũng về. Em là về rồi tao nói về đấy.
nói số lắng biết về
khi bước đầu mà chị chưa về chị cũng sợ chị hả?
Đó. Không sợ gì mà từ khi khó quá. Mỗi lần về đấy rất là khó. Giấy tờ đi chỗ này qua chỗ kia này, làm đơn này qua đơn kia này. Không phải dễ mà đi đây mà qua đi đây mà vô Đà Nẵng hay là vô Sài Gòn đâu. Việc không em đi vậy là ở chỗ em ha, rồi tới một cái tỉnh nữa đi mua vé, tới một cái nước nữa đi mua vé, tới cái nước nữa mua vé, rồi ngoài
Nhiều bãi rồi, nhiều giai đoạn.
rồi rồi kiểm soát giấy này, kiểm soát giấy kia, đi cả ngày cả đêm mà mất ngủ mệt chân rồi đến cái chỗ soát giấy này, soát giấy kia, làm giấy này đi làm giấy mệt lắm, không phải dễ mà đi đây qua
đi
đấy.
làm không khỏe ở ví dụ
Nếu mà nó khỏe giống như đây vô Đà Nẵng bây giờ em đi hỏi
Được đó nha. Có.
cho dễ, mỗi lần đi khó lắm không phải dễ đâu. Nó mệt, nó cực lắm, nó không khỏe như khi em đi một lần đi khó, đi làm khó lắm.
Như đợt này á, mà như mà chị không nói là vấn đề sẽ không bao mà sẽ sử dụng quý cũng không sao rồi.
Em nói rằng là để
Xe cam của em, mình xây là mình quay camera. Tôi lại qua chị luôn, qua chị.
đây đây hồi xe hồi cái này đó
thì cưới camera mà đẹp.
And this is just in the hotel there. The courtyard, all the picnic tables and things sitting in there. There was a lot of different areas where you could sit down and just have conversations. It's one of the statues there. Cam walking around. The weather was nice there. It was cloudy, but it was about 85 degrees. And us coming from Alaska, it was a lot different than what we were used to. When we left Alaska, it was 20 below zero, so, and that was in March, so this is refreshing weather that we can get used to real easy. In this courtyard, they had a lot of birds in cages hanging around in the trees that would make a lot of noise. See how slender those girls are coming around there? There's some of the girls that work at the hotel. And this is out at the swimming pool. They had a nice swimming pool there. We didn't use it, but we could have. It was a real nice pool. And that was swimming pool, and this is the end of our first reel on our 1999 trip to Vietnam.